So yeah, really, really exciting and to be here today. Really enjoyable hearing about everyone's different projects, and thank you all for joining today and coming to listen to our quick presentation as well. So at Jacobs, we've created something called the UK Space Campaign Team, where our aim is to use our current capabilities that we have within Jacobs globally and both within the UK, and all the knowledge that we have within different sectors to try and break into the UK space market. Now, one of the sub-projects that we have within the team is creating our own satellite development team and developing all these capabilities as well, which leads to the birth of the Space Campaign Pico-Satellite team, who are presenting today. So as a bit of an outline about what we're going to speak about, we're going to have a bit of a team introduction and a little bit about Jacobs for those of you who haven't really heard of us. Maybe you've only heard of us as a US-based setting, or maybe you've only heard us as a small company within the UK. And then we'll also try to briefly touch about why we are trying to break into the UK space industry, and then go over our current ideas, the applications of our Pico-Satellite, and why we have chosen Pico-Satellite for our project rather than a potential different solution. So first off, as a couple of introductions, I'm Dominic Coy. I've been working on the UK Space Campaign team here at Jacobs for just over a year, and I'm one of the technical leads within the team. My current role is centered around developing and converting the current capabilities that we have globally and within the UK here within Jacobs into the UK space market specifically. We then have 5 other members of our team that span over multiple disciplines, and thankfully both Molly and David have been able to join us today. If you'd like to give us an introduction yourself.
Yep. So I'm David. I'm a graduate control instrumentation engineer within Jacobs. I'm on this project kind of part-time, looking at kind of integration of sensors and just basically integrating all the systems, and something that I've not really looked at before. So it's a really interesting thing to get involved in. And space was always something I wanted to be involved in at uni. So this is kind of quite interesting for me, and really excited going forward what we can do. I'll pass over to Molly.
Hi, thanks, David. I'm Molly. I'm a graduate chemist working in the chemistry and materials team, and for the past sort of 7 months, I've also been working within Jacobs' equipment qualification team. Also in the chemistry and materials team, who on the Pico-Satellite project are Sam and Ewan, who sadly couldn't be here today. They send their apologies.
Yes, thanks, David and Molly. And then the final person who hasn't had a chance to introduce himself, who again sends his apologies, is Sam Woodley, who's an electrical engineer who's currently seconded onto the EDF's Haitian nuclear power plant, but he works on the project in his spare time at home in the evenings, which really shows his commitment, and we're very, very glad for him. So just a little bit about Jacobs as a company. For those of you who don't know who we are, we currently have over 55,000 employees around the world working on a broad range of services, including commercial, industrial, and governmental, all across the world in multiple markets. Our focus is to become one of the most diverse providers of technical, professional, and construction services, as well as scientific and specialty consulting. Last year, we generated nearly $14 billion in revenue, which shows the size of the company that we're talking about here. However, within Jacobs, and especially within the Pico-Satellite team and the UK space sector, we're a much smaller company than this. But because of our monetary backing, we're unsure on where we really fit into this market. We're really just a startup with a number of people that are working on this, but I say with the monetary backing of almost an LSI, and we're not really an SME either. So we're currently trying to figure out exactly where we stand within the market. And at Jacobs, we're currently rapidly trying to expand our capabilities in both the UK space sector and the equipment qualification sector. And we believe as though this Pico-Satellite project is the perfect way to advance both of these. So a bit of an overview of Jacobs in the space sector, and like why are we trying to break into the space sector itself. As a company, we have more than $1.4 billion of revenue, more than 7,000 employees in over 20 different locations globally. However, the majority of these people and the majority of the money that is brought in is currently based in the US. As you see here, there are quite a number of different clients that we already work with, but again, the majority of them being US based, but we are working to expand this globally. Start this here with OneWeb, Space Hub Sutherland, and Equatorial Launch Australia. Some highlights to speak of the Jacobs Space portfolio is that we're NASA's biggest engineering solutions provider, and we have been for a number of years now. And we have a number of multifaceted space initiatives, which include continuing to develop and deploy mission-tailored ISR solutions and leveraging proven past experience to capture and share in the space domain. So with this slide, I'm sure that you're all very aware, so I'm going to skim over it very quickly, but it shows some of the reasons why we are trying to expand the UK space market. And at the moment within our team, we not only are we wanting to greatly benefit our capabilities and our knowledge within our team, but we also have to focus on how we can expand and develop our capabilities with Jacobs globally. So we want, as Jacobs, we want to get into some of this market spend with over £14 billion annual spend, hoping to reach 40 billion by 2030. And so here you can see some of the existing companies that we've reached out to and are trying to work with as well. Again, this is not an exhaustive list, and we have loads of different other companies which we've expanded to. Obviously, this is just one slide, but we would love to expand this list. So if anyone wants to get in touch with us, discuss their projects in more detail, or discuss how potentially Jacobs and your company can work together on potentially a Pico-Satellite design or other projects in the future, potentially in space or other disciplines as well. So to get on to our actual projects, our initial idea is to expand our equipment qualification capabilities in the UK into the space market. However, we've had a number of other ideas as well in the past, which haven't quite got off the ground, pardon the pun. And before we've reached this solution, we've thought about potentially measuring the neutron flux within the low Earth orbit, or we've even had interest about potentially counting the number of sheep within whales, because obviously we all know there's many sheep within whales. And we potentially wanted to use cameras on satellites to do this, but we decided this potentially wasn't the greatest route to go down at this point. So our equipment qualification facilities are already market leading in a number of sectors, and definitely some part of the sectors country leading and even globally leading in other sectors. And so we thought, what better place to start than to convert our capabilities into the space market? And thankfully, Molly, who's worked on the equipment qualification team within Jacobs before, can give you a little bit more of a background and overview into what our qualification capabilities are within Jacobs.
Thank you, Dom.
Molly?
So, yeah, I'm here. Thanks very much. Could I have the next slide, please? So as Dom was saying, I've been fortunate enough to work within the equipment qualification team at Jacobs. For anyone who doesn't know, equipment qualification is essentially confirming that a piece of equipment, so structure, system, or components, can perform its allocated safety function within the environment that it was designed to be used in. So in the Jacobs context, that mainly means the nuclear industry. So in May 2020, we signed a partnership with 𝗖𝗍 Point-C, which is arguably the largest equipment qualification program happening in the UK right now. And we're looking in, it's a £30 billion project, and we will be the main contractor for equipment qualification for that project. And we're looking at expanding into things like ITER and Sizewell C in the future. So given that this is a rapidly expanding area of the Jacobs business, we wanted to see if we could expand our idea of getting into the UK space sector with equipment qualification. So our aim is to launch a Pico-Satellite fitted with sensors to gather data, environmental data such as temperature, humidity, pressure, which could then be used to qualify future satellites and expand our capability into the UK space sector. And with that, I'll hand back to Tom.
No, thank you, Molly. So you might be asking, why use a Pico-Satellite for this project? As I'm sure quite a lot of you know, a lot of the data that we are aiming to get is readily available online. And so why sort of put our money out there for creating a Pico-Satellite for this? Well, as you all know, Pico-Satellites are extremely compact, and we aim to use a lot of MEMS sensors. So for people who don't know the acronym, this stands for Micro Electrical Mechanical Systems Sensors. And think about how many sensors you can get into your phone. And as Molly said, we hope to fit as many sensors into the smallest space possible. So we're able to collect as much data as possible, and that we can develop our equipment qualification capabilities. So that we can qualify our own satellites in the future that potentially might have slightly more difficult, slightly more sensitive pieces of equipment, and also our partner satellites in the future as well. At the moment, this whole project is going to be really, really useful to show that the Jacobs UK has the capability of working within the UK space market. Because as well as designing, building, launching satellites, so that when we're trying to develop our own capabilities and convert these into the space market, we have a project to show potential clients and prove that we actually have these capabilities and have done the work before. So not only do we think that we can expand our qualification facilities, expand our potentially marketing facilities into the space sector as well, we feel that this would be a really good case study for potentially cheap, relatively cheap, potentially relatively small solution as well. And so finally, as a bit of a one-slider and a bit of a conclusion to show all the different information that we've sort of said in this presentation as well, and you can see all the face of all the people on our team as well. Jacobs UK plan to launch Pico-Satellite in 2022-2023, containing multiple different instruments, multiple different sensors, aiming to collect a diverse array of data within the size constraints of the Pico-Satellite. These instruments will aim to collect as much data as possible during all stages of its lifestyle, from launch to orbiting to potentially deorbit as well. And these parameters are limited to, but are not limited to, but potential parameters are temperature, pressure, various mechanical forces, radiation, vibration. And using this data, once we've developed and expanded our current equipment qualification capabilities, then we could replicate the conditions that would be experienced by a payload in low Earth orbit during all stages of operation. And our newfound expertise in qualification within space will prove invaluable within the UK space market, not only to our own future aspirations, but to our clients' aspirations as well. Finally, we want to emphasize that this is hopefully not going to be our only foray into space. On the space campaign, we want to see this project as a proof of concept for the campaign, which is exactly why we've chosen a relatively cheap and small solution for our project. We hope to expand our facilities in the future so that we have whole dedicated spaces for the development of satellites, to build a large variety of satellites, both small and large, within the UK, along with the potential development of constellations of satellites to develop different capabilities that I spoke about a little bit earlier on in the presentation, also capabilities that people have reached out to in the future, reached out in the past, so that we can work with them in the future to do that. Unfortunately, I don't think many of these we can actually discuss as of now, but when they are in the domain, I'll speak to you all about them. And this whole space that will be expanded, our equipment qualifications facilities into space, will allow to assist ourselves and our partners, new and old, to a greater extent in the space market than we ever have been able to before. So thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me on the email that you see here, or ask them now. And I hope to be able to speak to you all in the future and develop the relationships between Jacobs and yourselves. No, thank you very much.